The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 131, and I am your host Ray Russell to bring you more of May in 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. This week, guys, it's the final 2 weeks of May TV here in the WWF for 1988. We won't waste a lot of time. I want to wish all of the great dads out there a happy Father's Day. Hope you enjoyed your holiday weekend. Also, hope everybody in the States have enjoyed the fairly new holiday of Juneteenth as well, as we continue on here on the Grenade. As I said, 2 more weeks of TV to jump into here this week, so we won't waste any time, guys. Let's head off right now to the May 21st edition of the WWF Superstars of Wrestling. All right, here we are, Superstars of Wrestling, May 18th, tape back May 10th, brand new set of tapings in Duluth, Minnesota. It's Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura on the call. As we head off to the ring, May sweeps doesn't get any sweeter than this. Last time out, we saw Hulk Hogan in the ring, taking on Boris Zukov. This week, it is the WWF champion, undisputed champ, Macho Man Randy Savage with the lovely Miss Elizabeth taking on the Bodyguard Virgil. And of course, you better believe he's going to be accompanied by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and away we go to ringside for this one. DiBiase and Savage exchanging words pre-match, and what a way to kick off the show, I might add. Both the Grenade and Superstars, but here we go, DiBiase, Savage exchanging words pre-match here, with Teddy even clenching his fists, threatening to deck the Macho Man. Is finally DiBiase going to exit the ring? Macho Man, though, snatching his WWF title belt from one of the Hebners, and he swings wildly, swings for the fences at Virgil, who luckily manages to escape, jumping out to the floor, as the Macho Man then going to turn his attention back to Ted DiBiase. And while Savage arguing with the $1 Million Man, Virgil sneaking up from behind, attacking Randy Savage here, clobbering him from the backside, laying him out, putting the champ on the mat, and Virgil begins to stomp away from there. Then Virgil going to distract the referee while it's DiBiase's turn to lay in his shots on Randy Savage. $1 Million Man laying him in as Virgil then positions Savage in the ring and appears to be going up to the middle rope. Virgil ascending the ropes. No, wait, he's not done yet. Virgil going up top. All the way to the top rope is Virgil. And it appears he's going for the diving splash by Virgil. Wow, you don't see that every day or ever again. It's Air Virgil. But Macho Man out of the way, and Virgil going to crash hard onto the mat. As Macho then catching Virg with a high knee in the back and a flying double axe handle off the top rope. Down goes Virgil as Savage climbing back up top, looking for that patented flying elbow drop. Going to finish this one off quick early in the matchup, but DiBiase jumping up onto the apron appears to want to trip Savage up as he's standing on that top rope, but the Macho Man wisely jumping down and begins chasing DiBiase around ringside. Ted finally going to catch up and hide behind Elizabeth? How dare he, pal? DiBiase doing what Savage did so many times as a heel, hiding behind the lovely Liz. And Macho Man is not happy about it, you better believe it. With Savage, though, distracted, it's Virgil attacking from behind on the outside this time. And then it's back in the ring where Virg with a nice-looking lariat, a little jumping clothesline there. Virgil sending Savage down to the mat and then pitching him back out to the floor. And with the Macho Man down and out, DiBiase pulls out a wad of cash and begins stalking Miss Elizabeth around ringside. flashing the money, trying to purchase Elizabeth? Disgusting, Jess! So with Ted and Virgil stalking after Liz, they fail to realize that the Macho Man has recovered in the ring, and Savage going up to the top rope, leaping off to the floor with that flying double axe handle into the back of the spine of Virgil, and then clotheslining the $1 Million Man, money flying everywhere. Down goes Dibiase on the floor, Virgil tossed back inside, dropped throat first across the top rope, and then it is finally time for the flying elbow. Macho Man going to score the win here over the Bodyguard Virgil. Match goes 5 minutes and 32 seconds. And yes, it was a dog and pony show from the start, hiding Virgil's weaknesses, which is actually wrestling. But the spots he did do, it made him look competent in there. I would have bought Virgil as an actual good wrestler back in this time period based on what little we did get here from Virg in the ring. But just a great angle to get some heat here right out of the gate on the program. But we're not done yet. Post-match, Dibiase upset, immediately attacking Randy Savage, clotheslining him down to the mat, stomping away on the WWF champion, and Virgil eventually back up to his feet, going to join in with Dibiase holding Savage for the $1 Million Man. Oh, the ultimate embarrassment. Talk about adding insult to injury. Dibiase going to stuff a $100 bill into the mouth of the Macho Man. As Dibiase going to try for another clothesline on Randy Savage, but Savage this time going to duck, and instead Ted nailing Virgil. And with Virgil down, the fight is on. It's the Macho Man and Ted Dibiase in a literal pull-apart brawl with the likes of the Hitman Bret Hart, Don Morocco, Coco Beware, Greg Valentine, even Demolition out here to separate things between the champion and the would-be challenger, as Savage, though, manages to break free from some of the baby faces holding him back and leaps off with a flying axe handle onto Virgil again. Poor Virg. And the two men separated once again. Dibiase and Macho Man want at each other as we head into our first commercial break. Whew! What a great way to keep the heat going for this feud, guys. Best thing they've done thus far in this feud since WrestleMania, and very well executed. I was really worried how this was going to play out as we continued on into the summer, because we know these guys are going to go into July and WrestleFest and, of course, SummerSlam in August. And how are they going to get there just based on what they had done at WrestleMania? Well, they've done a great job thus far the last couple weeks on TV. You remember the altercation, Macho Man up on the stage last week, Dibiase in the ring. They pass ways, they exchange words. This week we get the matchup and a great pull-apart brawl. We'll have to see what comes next week as they continue to tell the story between the Macho Man and the $1 Million Man. But for now, we continue on with the program, guys, and it's Greg the Hammer Valentine in the ring, along with manager Jimmy Hart, Valentine's opponent, Jim Evans. But Valentine, he didn't come alone, and I'm not referring to Jimmy Hart, but rather his brand new gimmick, a new shin guard. Apparently, supposedly, Valentine recently injured his shin, and thus to protect himself, he's bringing out a brand new trusty shin guard. I have to question that. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out here in the matchup. As we get going, it's the old Valentine lazy man suplex. Just kind of drops Evans all on his own. Double underhook suplex there from the Hammer. And then he lowers the boom with the old big hammer, the elbow drop. And then, well, should have known it was coming. Greg Valentine adjusting the shin guard before locking in that figure four leg lock, scoring a very quick submission win, just 2 minutes and 1 second. And this time, I have to point out, this is the first time it is used here on TV, and the shin guard is twisted onto the shin rather than the calf of the Hammer. We'll have to wait and see how that continues. Is he going to shift it a different direction? We'll continue to watch the matches here. Keep a close eye on Greg Valentine in this new Heartbreaker, as he calls it, as Evans clearly clutching at his legs post-match, requiring help to even leave the ring. I smell shenanigans, guys. I don't know about you. But we'll keep, like I said, we'll keep an eye on that as we continue on here with the program. Right now, we go back to the ring for the Hitman, Bret Hart, taking on Steve Lombardi. As Jimmy Hart, well, he manages the Hammer, but he also managed the Hart Foundation. Jimmy Hart showing up ringside, and we haven't seen him with the Hitman since before WrestleMania. Of course, they were in the Battle Royal there, no managers ringside. But here Jimmy Hart showing up after the introductions as the match gets going here, and the Hitman ordering Jimmy Hart to return to the locker room. Now, Jimmy going to stand out there for a bit and plead his case, but ultimately, he listens to the Hitman, Jimmy Hart, leaving ringside. Sounds like there may be trouble in the Hart Foundation camp. as we also get an insert promo from Jim the Anvil Neidhart during this matchup, as it seems like the Anvil, at least he still sides with the Hitman. As Neidhart here going to warn Bad News Brown that nobody pushes the Hitman around. Yeah, baby. As we see Bret Hart deliver the big pile driver here, scoring the win over Lombardi, 1 minute and 39 seconds, as we are now off to the event center. And Mean Gene Okerlund, we're going to hear from the Islanders and the British Bulldogs.
All right, Mean Gene Okerlund back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. So many things, by the way, happening right now. We try to keep you apprised of everything on a weekly basis, but some things so fast, it's happening on a daily or an hourly basis. What about this match? The British Bulldogs meeting the Islanders. They're managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan.
You know, I don't like foreigners. I don't like somebody that talks with an English accent. And I don't like dogs. So if you put it all together and you get a British Bulldog and 2 guys from England, think how much I like them. Not at all.
You know what that means, Bulldog? That means you're dumb, you're stupid, you're nothing. We are the #1 tag team in the WWF. And another thing is, get your English right so people can understand you, fool.
And I'm going to have a big surprise coming very, very soon. You can bank on that. Okay, guys, sick 'em.
All right, the Islanders, Haku and Tama. I don't think they really totally understand some of the things that Bobby the Brain Heenan does, supposedly in their behalf. A couple of guys that do understand Bobby Heenan. They've got a mascot by the name of Matilda. You know, I'm talking about the British Bulldogs.
You know, Islanders, you come out here saying you're going to use the British Bulldogs as stepping stones. Well, let me tell you something, Islanders. You're wrestling the British Bulldogs, not a couple of nobodies. And let me tell you something else. You're not using us as stepping stones, because we're going to go through you, Islanders. We're going to wipe the mat with you, and then from there, we're going to go to the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. Isn't that right, Dynamite?
That's right. Islanders, when we get in that ring with you, it's going to be like a World War III. Everything's going to break loose, and we're not going to sit back and let you do everything you want to us. We're going to fight you to the end, and the best team's going to win. And when we do beat you, Islanders, we're going to bigger and better things. Demolition, World Championship belts, they're going to go around the British Bulldogs' waist, and we're going to make this little dog Matilda so proud of the British Bulldogs.
All right, the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid. They, by the way, are former tag team champions here in the World Wrestling Federation. They'd love to get their hands on the Islanders. They'd really like to get their hands on Bobby Heenan. And by the way, it's regulation equipment for Bobby Heenan. No padded pants or protective clothing for you, my friend. We're back with more after this.
So I do believe that may be a repeat of last week. I do apologize, guys, but we did hear Bobby Heenan there promising a big surprise soon, which I have to believe was High Chief Offie, as the Bulldogs state that Matilda, she hasn't forgotten a thing. Looking for revenge on Bobby Heenan and company. Meanwhile, as we already know, Tama is gone from the company. So this is likely our final Islanders promo as we go off to an ice cream bar commercial with Slick and the Bolsheviks, of all people. Going to get everybody to shill those ice cream bars. Then it's back to the ring for the Rock Don Morocco with manager superstar Billy Graham in his corner, and the Rock taking on Billy Anderson here as we get an insert promo from the superstar, putting over the Rock and his magnificent body. And in the ring, it's Morocco delivering the Tombstone Pile Driver in another very quick matchup. Contest goes 1 minute and 17 seconds. Quick win for the Rock here this week. And then we head right back off to the event center once more. Mean Gene Okerlund standing by with a slew of interviews, including the Bolsheviks, the Killer Bees, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
I'll tell you what, the bottom line right now in the World Wrestling Federation, Demolition, Axe, and Smash, they're managed by Mr. Fuji. They are the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. But, of course, a lot of teams are lining up. They're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door. Coming to those teams, the Killer Bees and these men from Russia, the Bolsheviks.
The Killer Bees, we're very angry about you. We're very angry that you can put on the mask onto the ring and come in the ring and make fools out of us. This has made us very angry, and I promise you, you will pay for it at the round of the Tavares.
That's right, Killer Bees. You can fool some people sometime, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. I work very hard, and remember, next time you try to pull a dirty trick, me and my partner, we have a surprise for you. A surprise right here. But I don't want to tell you, because it's going to be a surprise.
The Bees against the Bolsheviks, 2.
enormous wrestlers from Russia, both over 300 pounds, managed by one Jive So Bro, the Slickster. Sure, they're big, sure, they're strong, and they want to be world tag team champions. But you know something, Brian? When the match gets tough, the big Russians get confused.
So yeah, Jumpin' Jim, that's when they run out of gas. That's when we put on the mask. That's when mass confusion prevails. And Bolsheviks, you're going down. 1, 2, 3.
All right, a couple of great tag teams. The Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov. And the Killer Bees beat Brian Blair and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. The Rock, Don Morocco, what a great veteran. He's going to be meeting in the World Wrestling Federation this man.
Listen, Don Rockhead Morocco, why is it that people call you the Rock? Is it because you bask out on the beach, bask out with your huge stomach on Sunset Beach like a big overgrown rock of Gibraltar with 2 or 3 beer cans in your hand and a lot of fat women around you and a lot of overgrown surfboards? Is that why they call you the Rock? Well, the anvil can hang 10 too, baby.
All right, I was talking about Jim the Anvil Neidhart. You talk about credentials, UCLA, a former Raider football player, and, of course, a former tag team champion and a member of the Hart Foundation here at the World Wrestling Federation. Obviously, one of the great superstars these days. He's Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Well, guys, it looks like they may be moving past the Bolshevik Young Stallions matches, and now we have Bolshevik Killer Bees matches to look forward to, I suppose. Also, Jim Neidhart talking that Rockhead Morocco. So he's still cutting heel promos, but he's also working as a babyface when it comes to Bret Hart and Bad News Brown. Very complicated, and that's going to continue for a little bit here into the summer before it all shakes out. But right now, Neidhart on the house shows is indeed working against babyfaces, so Neidhart's still playing a heel when it comes to the house shows. And they've been keeping him off TV. Only Bret Hart's been in action on television. So keep that in mind as we go back to the ring for Ravishing Rick Rude with manager Bobby Heenan. Rude taking on Scott Casey here this week. And Scotty going to surprise Rude with a reverse rolling cradle and a running body block for a pair of 2 counts here, taking Rude down to the mat. But the Ravishing one going to turn things around with a big power slam. And he's playing to the crowd an awful lot this week, but it works in his favor as the Rude Awakening Neckbreaker going to end this thing in just 1 minute and 30 seconds. Wow, a lot of quick matches here this week. Rick Rude putting away Cowboy Scott Casey in just 90 seconds time. And then post-match, Rick Rude busting out the old butt flex, showing his derriere off to the ladies. And then he offers his Rude Awakening kiss, but Bobby Heenan got to make sure that she's not a harlot like that hussy Cheryl Roberts. Oh, Bobby, going to get yourself in even more trouble with the Snake Man here as Rick Rude going to lay one in one more time. And a huge response for Rick Rude both ways, for his wrestling action and for the after-match kiss. The ladies love Ravishing Rick and some loud weasel chants in between, so Bobby, you're not quite as over with the ladies, it would seem. As we continue on with Superstar special interview time, Craig DeGeorge up on the platform with Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and the Barber now complete with theme music for his entrance. Ah, yes, everybody coming into their own with theme music here, and Brutus the Barber, the latest to acquire. As they go back to WrestleMania 4, Beefer, he didn't get the Intercontinental title, but he did get quite a bit of Jimmy Hart's hair, as the Barber says he's not done with the Honky Tonk Man yet. And almost immediately after making those comments, Jimmy Hart out, barking through his megaphone, distracting the Barber up on the stage. When out from behind, it's the Honky Tonk Man. Honky jumping up onto the stage, blasting Brudai with the guitar between the shoulder blades and into the back of the head. Brudai knocked off the platform down to the concrete, And Honky says, if you like that tune, you ain't heard nothing yet. Honky Tonk Man down off the stage. Looks like he's going to continue his onslaught on the Barber, cocking back the guitar, looking to strike again. The Intercontinental Champion looking to finish off Brutus Beefcake here. But officials going to show up just in the nick of time, separating the situation. So, much like the heavyweight title feud between Dibiase and Savage, they use this same episode of Superstars to kind of reheat the ongoing IC title feud between the Barber and Honky Tonk as well. So I say well done as we see the smashed guitar pieces to close the segment and Brutus being helped away with blood pouring down his back. So a piece of that guitar busting open the skin of Bruti. And while the WWF doesn't promote blood, in this instance, they utilize it to get over the feud. Hey, it was there, so why not? And after that fun little segment there, we go back to the ring. We've seen the Intercontinental Champion pop up. We saw the WWF Champion in action, and now it's time to see the Tag Team Champions. All on the same show, it's Axe and Smash Demolition, with manager Mr. Fuji taking on the team of Warren Bianchi and, is that Rock and Roll? Buck Zumhoff? Oh, not a big fan of his. Rock and Roll not getting anything in here on the offense, and he crawls over, finally managing to tag out to Warren Bianchi, and Zumhoff disappears off the apron. What a douche. Bianchi runs into a stun gun by Smash, and then the Demolition Decapitation going to put away Warren Bianchi. Demos get the win, 1 minute and 37 seconds, as Buck Zumhoff randomly reappears, crawls back in the ring to check on his partner after the matchup, but too little too late, Rock and Roll. As we go off now to an update with Alfred Hayes talking about the recent matchup between Hulk Hogan and Boris Zukov, because we got to find a way to get Hogan on every episode of TV that we can. But this may be it for a couple months anyway. And then, of course, just recently we saw the angle play out. Brutus Beefcake getting smashed in the back of the head, the back between the shoulder blades with the Honky Tonk Man's guitar. We head backstage. Craig DeGeorge checking in with Beefcake, who appears to be in the locker room, icing down the back of his neck. But Bruti vowing revenge on the Intercontinental Champion. Look out, Honky Tonk Man. Wouldn't want to be him next time around. As we go back to the ring, one more match here on Superstars. Birdman, Coco Beware, taking on Terry Gibbs. As Gibbs now not only getting in better shape, but rocking bright yellow trunks, trying to stand out now, is one Terry Gibbs. We also get an insert promo here from Bobby Heenan during the Birdman match. He says he has something special in store for Coco and his pigeon. Wonder what that was. I'm guessing it was supposed to be High Chief Afi, but I'm kind of curious. As Coco with a big splash, but he lands on the knees of Gibbs, who's going to take over and go up top. Terry Gibbs on the top rope, but the Birdman going to slam him off and deliver his patented Ghostbuster. Brainbuster getting the win here for Coco Beware. Match goes 1 minute and 50 seconds. Keeping the heat alive for the Birdman and the Brain. As we go off to our final event center from Superstars, Mean Gene. At the desk, we're going to hear from the Outlaw Ron Bass, the Junkyard Dog, and George the Animal Steel.
Some things happen in the World Wrestling Federation that I just possibly cannot stand. One of the most disgusting, one of the most repulsive acts I have ever seen happened in front of a national television audience. Junkyard Dog on his way to the ring, Outlaw Ron Bass on his way back. They got together. Finally, this man, Outlaw Ron Bass, tried choking the JYD.
Mr. JYD, you made me a happy man. Yeah, you know why? You know, I'm used to these old dumb cur dogs that you come out in the barn like you have to kick them out of the way, and they learn to get out of the way. They learn not to come back. But you know what? Mr. JYD, he didn't learn his lesson. He put his name on a contract. It's just a very few short days. It's going to be you and me again, and Miss Betsy, and it might be necktie time again. You know that, Mr. JYD? I'll be looking for you, boy.
You know, sometimes I have to look up. Not only on Sunday, each and every day. And things phase across my mind. And I think about Ron Bass. Kicking a dog, beating him on the nose, trying to learn a new dog or old dog new tricks, putting your phalanges upon my chest, putting it all in my face. But I got something for you, Ron Bass. The Four Sisters on Farm Street.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Outlaw Ron Bass, please do not take this great country of ours, the USA, back 100 or 150 or even 200 years ago. I don't want to see it. Greg Valentine, what do you think of this man, George Steele?
Valentine! George got you! Yellow streak! Now! Get you!
You know, I think of all of the years that he was treated by Dr. Rodney Popufnik. I'm talking about George Steele. Popufnik is the famed gynecologist psychiatrist who has done so much for so many. I don't think he quite got it done for George Steele. But I must say, George Steele, wherever I travel in this great land, I find to be one of the most popular wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation.
JYD, well, you don't hear this every day, says that Ron Bass put his phalanges upon the dog's chest, and for that he will pay. Gene even referencing slavery there during the promo. I wrote, geez, Gene, what are we doing? Also, Greg Valentine apparently going to take on George the Animal Steele, who shows off Valentine's yellow streak. Thank you, George. And that's where the hammer's at right now on the house shows, guys. George Steele. As we conclude Superstars, I can't complain. 3 big angles this week on TV, 2 title match feuds, heated back up for another round on the house shows headed into the summer, and then the Hitman clearly separating his way from the mouth of the South. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. And let's not forget Greg Valentine also debuting his Heartbreaker, the shinguard. So lots going on here this week on Superstars. What a way to kick off the grenade as we continue on now to the May 22nd edition of Wrestling Challenge. All right, Wrestling Challenge, May 22nd, tape back May 11th, Rochester, Minnesota, at the Mayo Civic Center. It's Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon on commentary as we head off to the ring for Jake the Snake Roberts taking on Steve Lombardi. As still looking for Rick Rude is the Snake Man as he is angry and aggressive here, taking it out on poor Lombardi. Jake starting off fast, but he runs into a Steve Lombardi slam. As the future Brooklyn Brawler, though, going to miss an elbow drop, but he stands right up into the Snake Man's patented knee lift. And Steve going to try to run, but he's caught. Short arm clothesline and the DDT. Going to get the win here for Roberts in just 1 minute and 30 seconds. And you better believe Damien coming out to play after the match. As we roll on, time to go to Special Report with the brand new Sean Mooney. Made his debut last week here on the Grenade. This week, the Mooney Man talking about the ongoing feud between the one-man gang and Bam Bigelow.
Hello everyone, I'm Sean Mooney with this special report. Men of awesome size are not an uncommon sight in the World Wrestling Federation, but there exist 2 wrestlers in particular who not only possess great bulk, but incredible athletic prowess as well. Bam Bigelow and the one-man gang have a combined weight of nearly 700 pounds. Yet separately, each displays in the ring the athletic agility of a much smaller athlete. With each possessing such impressive agility, it seemed only logical that the 2 were destined to meet. That confrontation did indeed take place at WrestleMania 4 with explosive results. Upon the conclusion of their match at WrestleMania 4, a bitter rivalry was born. The intensity of these 2 men and their demands for a rematch ensure that Bam Bigelow and the one-man gang will once again collide in the ring. With this special report, I'm Sean Mooney.
All right, so Mooney talking about the big men's strengths and their agility, as well as their encounter back at WrestleMania 4. The 2 big men continue to headline those C-show main events in many of the markets. So it's still relevant at this point, guys. Bam Bigelow and the one-man gang. And then it's back to the ring for Bad News Brown in action, taking on Chris Zarna here. As we get a late bell, Bad News actually waiting for the bell this time, but he has enough of it, and he and Zarna get it on. Finally, the bell going to sound. Again, the match already started. Brown dumping Zarna across the top rope, and it's just a total beatdown from there. Not pretty, but it is effective. Left arm clothesline, setting Zarna up for the Ghetto Blaster. Bad News going to place his foot on the chest of Chris, scoring the 1-2-3. Match goes 2 minutes and 36 seconds. As we roll off now to the event center, we're going to hear Mean Gene Okerlund standing by with the Intercontinental Champion Honky Tonk Man and his soon-to-be, once again, challenger, Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
All right, hi again, gang. Gene Okerlund back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. And, of course, what's going on today in the World Wrestling Federation can absolutely be mind-boggling. During the course of the hour, I'd like to sort out some things if that's possible. Brutus Beefcake has got his eyes on the Intercontinental Champ, who is the Honky Tonk Man.
This is a symbol of the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of all time. And this identifies the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. And you're talking about the best, you're talking about me, you're talking about somebody that cares about his livelihood. And you talk about Brutus the Barber Beefcake, you're talking about doing strutting and cutting, you're talking about taking away my livelihood. If you think Brutus the Barber, because Jimmy Hart's barred from ringside, because Jimmy Hart's barred from the buildings, that's got me upset, that's got you an ace in the hole, that might help you just a little bit. It won't. Because before you can ever put this belt on, you gotta beat me. And I don't think you can. You put me to sleep one time, but you didn't cut my hair. And before you cut my hair, you gotta beat me.
I don't know who the Honky Tonk Man thinks he is. You get an idea sometimes he's living back in you-know-where. Well, nonetheless, he is the Intercontinental Champion. And I don't think anybody knows that than the number one contender for that title, this guy, Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I don't know about being a great champion. I think you're a lucky champion. Just a bucket of water's the only reason that your slimy ducktail's still on your head, boy. Yeah, that's right. Because me and my boy here, we got a plan, see? No Jimmy Hart. No one to save you. Just you and me. What you gonna do now? Got something up your sleeve, maybe? Yeah, I got something up mine. And it ain't no flesh, brother. It's cold steel. And it knows how to do the job. I proved I can put you to sleep. It's easy. I just do it again and again and again.
I don't know, did I just have somebody say that he thinks, the Honky Tonk Man thinks he's Mick Jagger? No, somebody else, the late great, you know who. Brutus the Barber Beefcake right now, he has got a tunnel vision. He has got his sights set on the Honky Tonk Man and the Intercontinental title. And I guarantee you that match is going to happen right here in the World Wrestling Federation.
All right, the Barber not missing a beat, coming after IC Champ Honky Tonk Man, his title and his hair. And now a little revenge on his mind as well. Honky Tonk Man simply thinks that he can't be beat. We'll have to wait and see. As we continue on back to the ring tag team action, young Stallions, Jimmy Powers and Paul Roma, taking on Tom Stone and Rick Gantner. As we get an insert promo here from the Bolsheviks and Slick. They talk about those Stallions Bolshevik matches. Slick says it's like comparing a hatchback to a Cadillac. I wonder which is which. Anywho, it's hard to believe, but the Stallions, they've been working together for over a year. Their debut on TV, teaming up, was right before WrestleMania 3. And while they took a few weeks off there in the summer of '87 as a tag unit, they've been together more often than not. And both men, granted, they have improved in the ring, but the team, it hasn't gotten any more over since surviving at the Survivor Series. Remember that? So the match gets going. Tom Stone gets in a few licks on both of his tags in the ring, but the Stallions, they're never in too much trouble here. Powers with a dropkick, Gantner out over the top rope in an unintentionally hilarious bump here by Gantner, who tried to take the bump, got stuck on the rope. Well, it was just a funny bump, guys. Go check it out if you can find this episode of TV. And then Powers scooping Stone up in a bear hug-like move, kind of like Anvil does, for the heart attack. But it's Roma coming off the top rope with a drop kick. Tag team work here. Going to put away Stone this week. Young Stallions get the Duke. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Well, if the Bolsheviks can eat ice cream, so can Sam Houston. Young Sam Houston promoting the WWF ice cream bars here before it's back to the ring for more action featuring the Mighty Hercules, with manager Bobby Heenan taking on Bill Bowman. As Gorilla going to be doing solo commentary, Heenan ringside. Hercules just dominating this matchup. A Gorilla Press toss, just launching Bowman across the ring so far that he nearly lands into the turnbuckles. Ugh. Just a total mauling here by the Mighty One, who finishes Bowman off with the torture rack backbreaker, giving Hercules a win, 1 minute and 52 seconds, warning the Ultimate Warrior to beware of the Mighty One. As we roll off now, back to the Event Center, Mean Gene Okerlund going to have words with Andre the Giant, manager Bobby Heenan, and the other side, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
All right, there is a tremendous rivalry that people are talking about in the World Wrestling Federation these days. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I'll tell you what, he is just a very free spirit. He's around 260, 270 pounds. His opponent, Andre the Giant, standing by with manager Bobby Heenan, is twice that size. Incredible as it sounds.
You know, there's been thousands of wrestlers that stood across the ring, looked into these men's eyes, left that dressing room with the palms wet, the knees knocking, knowing that they had to step into the ring with Andre the Giant. But what kind of a man is this Hacksaw Duggan? Comes into the ring with a board and knocks this man unconscious. I don't even know if you're human, Duggan. I don't even know if I want this thing to happen, this kind of a match. But you're going to pay because you woke this man up, and you woke something inside of him that only he can put out.
I think, Duggan, you don't know what you did. But you'll find out what you did. Because now you got me mad, Duggan. And believe me, when I'm mad, I'm mad. And now I am mad, Duggan. Oh, Duggan, when I get you again.
Oh, Bobby Heenan, as long as you don't have to get in the combat zone, you could care less, right? Andre, you could get him. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Well, please don't underestimate a man that's got tremendous heart, tremendous spirit. He's one of a kind in Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hello! Well, I didn't expect it. Sure, I marched on down to the ring and looked up at the Giant and told him what I thought of him, but I didn't expect it then. I turned to hand the 2x4, and even being 7 foot something, 500 pounds, you cheap shot at me, Giant. You had to wait till my head was turned, and then you grabbed me around the throat. Well, not this time, baby. This time I know what to expect. So when I lace my boots up, when I kick open that dressing room door, and when I stomp on down to the ring, I'm not going to take my eye off you. I'm going to have my 2x4 by my side, and I'm going to give you my best shot. And everything else fails, this 2x4 is just arm length away, and you'll go back out. Tough guy.
All right, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I like that guy a lot. I'll tell you what, he played football like there was no tomorrow, and he's got Andre the Giant. Good luck, knock on wood, as Hacksaw would say, if you know what I mean, folks. That one a main event wherever you see it. The price of admission alone, Andre the Giant meeting Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Well, that feud will continue. They worked very hard, I thought, for several weeks here on TV to get the feud over. Andre has been doing a great job, both in his promos and just the way he's selling. Not necessarily in the ring, but in front of the camera for the promos. Again, I know the bell rings and we have to watch the match, but just a great job working the fans into the arenas to watch Andre battle Hacksaw Duggan. And that feud will continue on here into the summer as we go back to the ring for a little JYD action. Junkyard Dog taking on Terry Gibbs, feels like for the 20th time in the last year. And of course, Dog immediately no-selling headshots. What's wrong with you, Terry? Terry Gibbs going to the cranium of Junkyard Dog. And JYD responding, firing off on Terry Gibbs. Dog with a nice Russian leg sweep. And of course, some headbutts. Wouldn't be a dog match without him. JYD, though, missing a falling headbutt. And Gibbs back up, stomping away on the Dog. But Gibbs going to hurt his own hand, punching at JYD's head. Didn't you learn the first time, Terry? And it's the thump, the power slam. The thump du jour going to get the win here, 1 minute and 56 seconds. As we roll off now to Craig DeGeorge, special interview time up on the platform, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Andre the Giant.
Ladies and gentlemen, please greet my guests. Of course, the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. And his manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan, who once again has Andre the Giant under his wings, and I guess along with that, a giant problem, Mr. Heenan, and I'm talking about Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
You call that a giant problem? Hacksaw Duggan has a giant problem. 7'5", over 500 pounds of a giant problem. He's telling everybody how with one swing of the 2x4, he leveled this man. Oh yeah, you knocked him down with a good cheap shot, but he's up. And once he's up, he stays up.
You know what happened in that recently nationalized televised match, Andre? If I recall correctly, Hercules and Mr. Heenan held back Hacksaw Jim Duggan as you flailed away with lefts and rights.
I want to tell you, Greg DeGeorge, Jigsaw Jim Duggan, what you start, this is nothing. You will see when I'll be finished with you, Hacksaw. Because believe me, what is coming to you, you're going to suffer and suffer, Jim Duggan. Take me quite a while to come up here, but you're going down, Jim Duggan. And I will squeeze that little neck you got on you until your eyes turn all white.
You know one thing Mr. Duggan has going for him?
And believe me, when I'm finished with him, he'll be done.
One thing Mr. Duggan does have going for him is the fact that he knocked out Andre the Giant, and no one has ever done that, Mr. Heenan.
Well, no, he's never been hit with a 2x4 before either. You can knock out a charging bull if you hit it with a 2x4. Don't give me that.
Well, with all due respect to you, Andre, I know you've heard it before, and after talking with Hacksaw Jim Duggan the other day, I would bet you may be hearing, ringing in your ears one day, "Ho!"
Oh! Well, I think we've heard the last of this idiot.
Oh, man, you guys got to go check this out. In fact, I took some screen caps. I got to post them on social media as it's Andre Taker here rolling his eyes up into the back of his head as he promises to destroy the cross-eyed Duggan. Then, of course, Craig DeGeorge just asking for it in this promo. He says Andre may be hearing hoes ringing in his ears by the time Hacksaw's done with him. And then Andre clawing Craig's face, basically palming his entire face like a basketball, while Bobby Heenan going to close this segment. You couldn't see it, but a great promo, fun stuff there. Go check it out. And Craig DeGeorge gets what he deserves. He's not long for the company at this point. For as bad as Andre was in the ring by this point, his stuff on TV, and I just said it a little bit ago, building up to these matches with Duggan has been very solid. I'll say this much. They're not trying to coast into the summer house shows. They're working hard to keep heat on each and every one of them. And speaking of summer feuds, well, it begins, guys. Back to the ring for the old Feat of Strength Challenge. And what is it going to be? A tug of war. Why, of course, it's Ken Patera, former Olympian, taking on Canadian strongman Dino Bravo with manager Frenchie Martin by his side. And of course, it is tug of war rules. As we see a big rope laying in the ring, black tape put across the middle of the ring. And the rules are the first man to pull his opponent across the line is the winner. We're doing this in pro wrestling, really? Sports entertainment, pal. So Kenny bringing the reality to the situation. He's done this kind of stuff before strongman competitions. So he brings him out some gloves for the competition here. Both men wrapping some rope around their waist for some added traction. It's legal. But Dino trying to yank Ken across the line before Joey Morella can even start the battle. So I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have counted Dino. But I knew this was moving too quickly, guys. As we hear the USA chants begin, and Dino Bravo gonna stall and bitch. I wrote blah. I thought we were gonna get right into this. They fooled me. So it's off for take two. Dino Bravo picking the rope back up, and maybe this time, guys. Dino, though, tossing the rope down again as he doesn't like something, but I have no idea what. So finally, here we go. Take three. And they're off, guys. We're getting it. Tug of war. Right here in the WWF ring, both men pulling, neither man moving initially. Patera finally starting to win the battle, but Dino Bravo looks to be pulling back just a little bit. Patera, though, he's not giving up, pulling Dino Bravo, and Dino looks to be in serious trouble here, close to that line. So what does Bravo do? What does any good heel do? He intentionally jumps over the line and clotheslines Patera with the rope. That son of a bitch. Bravo obviously going to get disqualified here, but he doesn't seem to mind. Let the beatdown begin. Frenchie Martin even going to join in here, holding Patera down by the legs, while Dino dropping a series of elbows and whipping Kenny with the big thick rope. And then finally, Bravo going to wrap the tug of war rope around the throat of Ken Patera, choking him out down on the mat. And a fun sell job by Kenny here, who was left choked out. Great sell job by Ken Patera. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, they tried. Nobody cared, but they tried. As we continue on, talk about trying something new. Rick Renslow and Dave Wagner, well, they're not new, standing in the ring, ready to take on the fabulous Rougeau Brothers, Jacques and Ramon. As they hard sell the word fabulous right away in this matchup, we even get an insert promo from the fabulous Rougeaus, as Gorilla Monsoon on commentary here says they're high on themselves, but mentions that's a good thing in order to be successful. As the Rougeaus, they love the fabulous USA, the land of opportunity. Monsoon's starting to get a hint of conceit now. You think, Gorilla? As more showmanship in their matches from the fabulous Rougeaus, specifically in this matchup, Jacques landing a nasty drop kick, and then Raymond tagging in, going through a big karate windup before delivering a crescent kick to the chest of Renslow here. And then from there, it's more questionable yet fabulous tactics on Rick Renslow, as Wagner finally going to tag into the matchup, Jacques grabbing him by his beard as they set up for the Doomsday device. Biggest pop the Rougeaus have ever gotten. Raymond Rougeau picking Wagner up on his shoulders, Jacques coming off with a flying clothesline, Legion of Doom style, Doomsday device on Dave Wagner, and the fabulous Rougeaus going to get the win, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And then for good measure, post-match, it's Le Bombe de Rougeau on Rick Renslow. I'm really digging this new attitude of the Rougeau brothers. As we conclude Wrestling Challenge here this week, one more event center. Mean Gene in the studio. We're going to hear from the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and the undisputed WWF champion himself, the Macho Man.
All right, right now, the World Wrestling Federation, there is one match that everybody all over the wrestling world is talking about and contemplating. Macho Man Randy Savage is the undisputed World Wrestling Federation's heavyweight champ. Number one contender, no doubt about it, is this man, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
And you call yourself a macho man, Randy Savage. Just how macho can you possibly feel, knowing in the back of your mind that until Hulk Hogan came in that ring and blasted me in the back with a chair, you were in the grasp of the $1 Million Dream, and you were mine. You were history, Randy Savage, in front of the whole world at WrestleMania 4. Yet you walk around proudly with the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship belt around your waist, calling yourself a champion and singing the praises of the sweet Elizabeth. Yes, Elizabeth is a beautiful woman. But this is the answer to everything, and that's what you're going to learn from the $1 Million Man.
All right, thoughts there from the number one contender, outspoken and very confident and cocky, also very wealthy. I thought I'd throw that in, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. But let's talk to the number one man, the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion, Randy Savage.
Let the candle burn all the way to the ground. Yeah, just like your money in the bank, Ted DiBiase. Yeah, bankruptcy is your future. Yeah, trying to buy the belt, trying to buy the prestige and the gold. You're not a proud man. You got no pride. Yeah, you've proven that a lot of times. Yeah, but it's sunk in now. It's sunk in with inspiration. Yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage with the First Lady of Wrestling by my side. I'm talking by my side, yeah, walking down the aisle. Ted DiBiase, Virgil, yeah, ugly as he is in the outside of the ring. Your dreams are not going to be satisfied, yeah. Bankruptcy is your future, yeah. You can't cash this check.
All right, only one of a kind. Macho Man Randy Savage, the way he is being received around the country, around the world as the World Wrestling Federation champ is absolutely phenomenal, to say nothing of the way the good folks, you great people, are receiving the First Lady of Wrestling, his manager, the lovely Elizabeth.
Well, we saw things heat up on Superstars, and Randy Savage and DiBiase not done with each other yet. DiBiase wants the belt. Savage wants DiBiase's ass. As we roll on, guys, it's time for another edition of Primetime Wrestling. May the 23rd, Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby the Brain Heenan. And hey, it's finally arrived, guys. The new Primetime set is here.
monsoon.
And I'm still seasick.
You are, huh? Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Primetime Wrestling. Here we are back in the studio with our brand new set. Take a look at it. It's beautiful. No thanks to you. What time did you get off the lake? It was dark when I left.
4 Coast Guard boats had to come out and get me.
Well, you kidding? There's no Don't touch anything, please. Just don't touch anything. Or you'll be back out there on the lake again. Outstanding lineup once again here this week on Primetime Wrestling. Feature match, of course, the big guy, Bam Bigelow, taking on King Kong Bundy. Where have you been hiding this guy? He's been under wraps.
Oh, no, Bundy's been very, very busy avoiding you and everybody else.
Busy doing what?
None of your business.
Well, Brain, these are the guys that are in your stable, in your family, I beg your pardon. And obviously you don't want us to know what's going on, or that's why you don't have any championships. You keep everything a big secret.
You want another big secret?
What?
Where's my phone?
Well, you don't have one yet.
I know that.
I'm working
What,
on
I think the phone used to belong to Topper? There's
You
no
don't-
phone here.
You don't need one yet. You don't have anybody to call. You've ran out of friends. You
Roll
thought Mr. Baseball was your friend, right?
Never heard from him again.
You know, he never showed up, did he? We've got an outstanding lineup, as always, here this week on Primetime Wrestling. We're going to be taking a look at young Sam Houston, Kenny Patera, against Dino Bravo in that big Tug of War that everybody's talking about. Proved that Kenny was a little bit smarter and a little bit stronger, did he not?
I don't think so.
You don't think
We'll get
so?
into that a little later, though.
We
We'll
will.
discuss that with you right now.
Well, you going to run this now? You ready to take over?
I
and
don't
run
like
this?
this chair.
Let's go to our first matchup as George the Animal Steel meets the one-man gang.
Well, here we are, the primetime set we would come to know and love over the next several years here on the USA Network finally makes its debut here this week after many weeks of promises. With Bobby Heenan on the show, why not blame the Brain? A built-in scapegoat is the Brain. Then, of course, Gorilla quote-unquote quit Primetime Wrestling a couple weeks ago, went off on vacation, it would seem, last week, though hosted the show from vacation. And now I'm happy to report that Gorilla Monsoon is indeed back here on the Primetime set. Not a lot of sound bites here this week, but we do go back to the duo to hear their discussion of the fallout after Honky Tonk's attack on the Barber.
Another despicable display by the Colonel and the Honky Tonk Man. You sit there and tell me that this guy is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time and he does stuff like that? Give me a break.
What about all the guys Beefcake cut their hair, sprayed him with paint?
After he beat him right in the middle of the ring, yes.
Choked him into unconscious, disfigured people.
Didn't back jump anybody.
He choked him into unconsciousness. Doesn't matter. Honky Tonk, my hat goes off to you.
You condone that, right?
I would have done it in a different way. I'd have used a Wurlitzer.
Oh, will you?
About an 8,000 pound, but I wouldn't have hit him from behind.
You condone that.
I dropped it from the ceiling.
So Gorilla calling the Honky Tonk attack with the guitar despicable. Give me a break. Good point by Bobby Heenan, though. All the people that Beefer goes around cutting the hair of and spray painting, you're telling me he didn't have this coming, Gorilla? I don't know. We continue on this week. Couple of interesting pieces of business here. Well, one of the things I want to discuss is the exclusive match this week. It's Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy Hart defeating Leaping Lanny Poffo with the figure 4. Match goes 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, that was taped back March 9th in Winston-Salem. But I also wanted to talk about the feature match here this week on Primetime, the elephant in the room. It's Bam Bigelow taking on King Kong Bundy. But Ray, King Kong's been gone basically all year. Outside of returning for that one-off, and I think it was February at the Garden, in order to replace the gang, Bundy's been gone since the end of 1987. True. So why would they air King Kong Bundy here in the feature matchup against Bam Bigelow, a match that was taped more than a half a year ago? Good question. And as we got to the matchup and Bobby Heenan kept alluding that Bundy was still in his Heenan family, I had to wonder myself. And then I thought, wait a minute, it's 1988. I remember 1988. I remember a TV show by the name of Married with Children. And I remember an episode where King Kong Bundy busted his head through the front door. Hey, why not have King Kong Bundy on a show about the Bundys, right? So I went and did some digging, guys. And sure enough, there it was. The May 1st edition of Married with Children featured Uncle Irvin, a.k.a. King Kong Bundy. And thus the WWF going to capitalize on that. Why not, pal? By airing a Bundy match here on TV, feature match on Primetime Wrestling. Thinking. So if anybody ever wondered why, now you know.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron. I'm talking about that $5 all access tier over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts for just $5, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of The Grenade Show, Regional Wrestling, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. We also offer remastered versions of the earliest episodes of The Grenade Show, covering the 1989 NWA project. Includes enhanced sound quality, plus new content and conversation never heard before. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series, covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. And for those who like all of their podcasts in one nice, neat little pile, the WrestleCopia Patreon also offers a Patreon exclusive Spotify account. You can actually go over to your Spotify with your WrestleCopia Patreon credentials. Instead of listening or downloading directly from Patreon, you can go over to Spotify, listen to all the latest shows, including all of the early releases. And you get all of that and so much more for just $5. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
Repo Man.
As we roll on another week of TV to go, Superstars of Wrestling for May the 28th, tape back May 10th, Duluth, Minnesota. Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura on commentary here as we see Jake the Snake Roberts take on Barry Horowitz. As Jake moving at a much faster pace since having those issues with Rick Rude. And the more aggressive style, it seems to work here for the Snake Man. But Barry going to try for a backdrop and Jake countering straight into a knee lift. Then it's the short arm clothesline and DDT, putting Horowitz away in quick fashion. Match only goes 1 minute and 16 seconds, and great bumping here by Barry Horowitz, but in the end, he gets the pleasure of meeting Damien face to face. Literally. Another fun win there from Jake the Snake as we go off now to an update with Lord Alfred Hayes talking about the recent tug of war between Ken Patera and Dino Bravo. We see the replay from Wrestling Challenge. So for those who missed it on Challenge, we now know Dino Bravo and Ken Patera embroiled in a feud here, thanks to the update on Superstars. And then back to the ring for Bad News Brown taking on Mike Richards. And we get an insert promo here from Bad News this week talking about taking out all the spineless cockroaches. There it is. Took out 19 spineless cockroaches in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 4. And he has no worries about stepping in the ring with the two panty waists who wear the what he calls spruce pink. And I'm not really sure that that's a color, but he does say it quite a lot. So it sounds like Bad News now also lumping the Anvil into his feud with the Hitman. So we may get an interchangeable mixture of both members of the Hart Foundation versus Bad News Brown, depending on the house show. But here this week, it's Brown over Mike Richards with the Ghetto Blaster and the foot on the chest, getting the quick win, 1 minute and 9 seconds. And who's here to shill an ice cream bar this week? Why, it's Jim the Anvil Neidhart going bonzo with an ice cream bar, as you may imagine. As the Anvil says, what do Bad News Brown and a WWF ice cream bar have in common? The answer is that Bret himself will eat them both up. Yeah, baby. And kind of off topic, but I've noticed since WrestleMania 4 that Neidhart's promos, they've been in front of a blue screen, literally just a blue background, while everyone else gets the globe background. Kind of weird. Definitely sticks out. As Superstars continues on, back to the ring for Tito Santana and Rick Martel's Strikeforce, taking on Dave Wagner and Rick Renslow. Wagner rocking a new haircut, and we'll just call it interesting. Should have left it to Brutus Beefcake. We get an insert promo during this matchup with Strikeforce from the fabulous Rougeau Brothers, who also refer to Strikeforce as being a fabulous team as well. The only thing that sets the Rougeaus apart from Tito and Rick is that blood is thicker than water. And I have to think, now that could have been fun here over the summer. Heel Rougeaus versus Strikeforce. And I got to mention here in the insert promo, the heel delivery is definitely there now for the Rougeaus as they oversell the word fabulous into every passing sentence. But we go back to the matchup. Solid squash as usual here from Strikeforce. Tito going to bust out the flying forearm on Wagner. Going to score the win here for the babyface side. Match goes 3 minutes and 8 seconds. As the program continues on, back to the ring, IC champion Honky Tonk Man out here with manager Colonel Jimmy Hart taking on Brady Boone. And we really haven't gotten a whole lot of honky tonk and squash matches as of late. But he's out here this week. Brady Boone going to get the better of the champion early on, celebrating with a top rope backflip as Honky bails out of the ring to regroup. But once back inside, the action going to reconvene, and Boone missing a corner charge. Honky Tonk Man going to capitalize with the shake, rattle, and roll. Neckbreaker going to get the win here for the IC champion, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Looking ready for the Barber. And here's a guy who looks ready for the Outlaw, Ron Bass. I'm talking about Junkyard Dog in the ring this week, taking on Tim Patterson. As Jesse Ventura on commentary says, Tim Patterson, is he the son of Pat Patterson, that old veteran from long ago? Well, we get an insert promo here from the Outlaw and Miss Betsy as they're coming for the JYD. Dog in the ring with a nasty short clothesline, a falling headbutt, and he drives one into the back of the spine of Patterson for good measure before it's the Russian leg sweep and the thump power slam, putting Tim Patterson away. 1 minute and 19 seconds. In post-match, Jesse Ventura continues his comments about Pat Patterson as he says, now I know for sure that's Pat's kid because that's how Pat used to end up, flat on his back. Jesus, what are we doing here, Jesse? Vince McMahon simply replies, Pat Patterson? I don't remember that guy. Fun touch there from Vince as we go on. Special interview up on the platform. Craig DeGeorge standing by with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Mr. DiBiase, if we could, let's talk about the recent match between your bodyguard Virgil and, of course, the World Wrestling Federation undisputed champion Randy Macho Man Savage. It's a match. It's a match you obviously showed no confidence in your bodyguard, and not only that, time after time, you got cheap shot.
Wait a minute.
Cheap shot in.
Wait a minute, little man. I'm not interested in your biased World Wrestling Federation opinion. I don't care what you think. I'll tell you the way it happened. And the way it happened is just this. The undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion, Macho Man Randy Savage, was manhandled He was physically manhandled by my bodyguard, Virgil. He was beaten from pillar to post. And the only time that I opened my mouth or intervened was when the referee wasn't doing his job or when Elizabeth was sticking her nose in where it didn't
I'm
belong.
glad you brought that point up. Mr. DiBiase, what kind of man would go to the extent of hiding behind the lovely Elizabeth and manhandling her?
Let me tell you something. I will do whatever I have to do, Randy Savage, to intimidate you, to get to you. And if it means grabbing hold of Elizabeth, I'll do it. The fact that she's a woman means absolutely nothing to me. She's a manager in a man's profession. And if she can't take the heat, then she should get out of the kitchen. And as far as you go, Macho Man, you have now personally tasted the wealth of the $1 Million Man. And choked on it. Choked on it, Savage. They had to fill the ring with wrestlers and physically pull me off of you. But the next time you turn around, Savage, it's not gonna be a $100 bill I stick down your throat. It's gonna be this right here. And when I do, Savage, when I do, you'll be finished. You won't be macho, you won't have the glory, and you won't have the money, and you won't have Elizabeth, because she's no different than any other woman here in this building. When the money's gone, when the glory's gone, the woman's gone. And I've never lost a woman, brother, because I've always got what they want. Who knows? Maybe Elizabeth will be the $1 Million Woman.
Hello. So DiBiase there with Bodyguard Virgil. They talked the Macho Man Virgil match from last week here on Superstars, the post-match brawl. DiBiase claiming that Virgil manhandled the Macho Man during that matchup. Craig DeGeorge, though, he recalls DiBiase hiding behind Elizabeth during that bout. As Teddy says, he will do whatever he wants to mess with the mind of Randy Savage, as Elizabeth is in a man's profession and has no business out there to begin with. They mentioned DiBiase stuffing the money into the mouth of the Macho Man. As Ted says, next time, it won't be a $100 bill in the mouth, but rather DiBiase's fist. As the $1 Million Man alludes that when he beats Savage for the belt, he will also take Miss Elizabeth with him, because he has what she wants. DiBiase stating what Elizabeth could very well become the $1 Million Woman. Wow. Certainly raising the ire of the WWF champion and upsetting the fans at the mere suggestion of DiBiase trying to mess with the lovely Miss Elizabeth. So 3 straight weeks of great booking here for the championship feud, the main event there on the A shows, Savage and DiBiase. Great job here the last 3 weeks. They've really rekindled the feud for me as I go through this, that's for sure. As we continue on, closing out Superstars, going all the way back to Saturday night's main event, filling in some spots here on the show. It's a replay once again of Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on the Mighty Hercules, using this segment to get over that Hacksaw Andre feud, as it is Andre who interferes in that match, laying out Duggan before the Warrior out to make the save, running off the Heenan family members. And of course, Warrior and Hercules also working the house show, so killing 2 birds with 1 stone here this week on Superstars. As we continue on, Off to Wrestling Challenge, May the 29th, tape back May 11th, Rochester, Minnesota, the Mayo Civic Center. It's Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon on the call. Ravishing Rick Rude, though, out to the ring first, so Bobby Heenan already leaving Gorilla hanging here, going solo for the opening matchup. Rick Rude taking on Jim Evans. As we get the pre-match disrobing here, Rick Rude clearly flexing his butt muscles yet again, so the camera focusing more on the upper body of Ravishing Rick. As Rude with ladies' hands now painted on his buttocks and on the front, but some really cool neon green tights, making sure to keep his backside to the hard camera, showing off those new airbrushed tights of his. And as the action gets going, Rude going to put Evans away. Rude Awakening, neck breaker, as usual, scoring the win here for Ravishing Rick, 1 minute and 43 seconds. And post-match, Rude Awakening kiss coming as well. Bobby Heenan again asking the lady that was selected, trying to make sure that she's not a harlot like Cheryl Roberts. Got to beat that harlot test, I guess. She says she's not. Rude takes her word for it, and he plants the wet one. To kick off this week's wrestling challenge, and then it's off to Special Report with Sean Mooney. This week, Sean Mooney talking about the recent attack the Honky Tonk Man put on the Barber.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney with this special report. The intense rivalry that currently exists between the reigning Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, and Brutus the Barber Beefcake is common knowledge among those in the World Wrestling Federation. In the Barber's quest to strip the Honky Tonk Man of his title, he has sheared anyone who has stood in his way, including Jimmy Hart and dangerous Danny Davis. The only obstacle that remains is the Honky Tonk Man himself, and recently the Intercontinental Champion sent Beefcake a musical message. The Honky Tonk Man's message, though out of tune, was clear. The current champion will stop at nothing to retain his title. Though Brutus Beefcake certainly heard the music, the incident appears to have had the reverse effect, as the Barber is now more determined than ever to obtain the Intercontinental belt.
Honky Tonk Man, you thought you could end my career? I'm one of your sour notes. Well, it won't happen. I won't fall, and I won't be drawn down by you or by anybody else. I'm gonna tear you limb from limb.
All right, we heard that soundbite that I mentioned earlier when it actually took place. Brutus Beefcake vowing that revenge on the Intercontinental Champion. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And hey, guys, another Sean Mooney soundbite. How about that? Sean Mooney, no doubt, going to be taking over the event center very soon. Stay tuned for that. But right now, we go back to the ring for the Hitman, Bret Hart, taking on Pete Sanchez, as we get an insert promo from manager Jimmy Hart, perhaps still the manager of the Hitman. Not really sure. Jimmy Hart says the Hart Foundation and he, well, they've had a little bitty disagreement, but things are working out. It'll all work out, and Jimmy Hart will be back by their side. Better than ever, baby. Well, I guess only time will tell there as the announcers debate the potential fallout. Gorilla thinks that Bret is done with Jimmy Hart, while Bobby Heenan thinks that Bret should apologize for whatever he did wrong and move on. Gorilla then reminding us that the Hitman is the excellence of execution here, as Bret removes his shades and commences on executing excellently here on Mr. Sanchez. But Bret Hart's still working heel to a degree here, as the Hitman going to work Sanchez into the corner, beat him down, and then count along with the referee for the break. Then from there, Bret Hart going to polish Sanchez off with the pile driver, scoring yet another singles win. Match goes 2 minutes and 20 seconds. As we roll off to the event center, Mean Gene Okerlund, we're going to hear from Andre the Giant, Bobby Heenan, and once again, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
All right, hi again, folks. Gene Okerlund back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. I will be stationed and posted here for the duration of the hour, keeping you apprised of so many things that are happening right now, the World Wrestling Federation. Sooner or later, the meeting will happen between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Andre the Giant, standing by with Bobby Heenan.
You know, you're your average redneck, low-life, unemployed bum. That's what you are, Duggan. Hey, you walk around, you dress like a tramp, you wear dirty T-shirts, you carry a board, and you think you can do whatever you want. This man's got a different idea what you're going to do.
Of course I do, and you should ask to Hulk Hogan. He knows I'm the only man who can do anything I want in the ring. And Duggan, I come in there and I start to choke you. And I be back to choke you again. And again and again. And Duggan, I love to choke people.
Get a shot of these hands. Get in here.
I will get off all the power you got out of you, Duggan. Everything.
All right, he is the eighth wonder of the world. He is Andre the Giant, managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, a man half his size, but with so much heart and so much popularity. Forget the 2x4. Let's hear from the man who's going to be facing Andre the Giant, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
You know, folks, I'm like anybody else. I've had my dreams, I have my desires, and I had my sights set for the WWF World Championship title. And Andre the Giant, you took that away from me. That's why I come down and stand tall and stand for what I believe in. That's why I'm not going to back down from you, even if you are 7 foot tall and 500 pounds. And understand one thing, Giant. That's why whenever Hacksaw Jim Duggan goes to the arena, this 2x4 goes with me. I stick it over in the corner where I can keep an eye on it. And then, tough guy, I'm going to show you something that you've never seen before. You're going to see 6'3", 275 pounds, a man that's not afraid of you, tough guy.
All right, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the native of Glens Falls, New York, played football at SMU, then took a pay cut to go on with the Atlanta Falcons in the National Football League. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I said, tremendously popular. He carries around a 2x4. I sometimes reach for that myself. I know they do come in handy. And Hacksaw wants Andre the Giant. You'll get him, friend. You'll get him.
So Duggan says he's no coward. And Bobby Heenan there referring to Hacksaw as an unemployed redneck. Of course, we all know Duggan is employed here in the WWF, and he's from New York. So can you be a redneck from up north? I don't know. Then it's back to the ring. More action here. Outlaw Ron Bass taking on Ricky Attacky, or as Gorilla calls him, a lackey, as he has written down for his notes. Sorry, Gorilla, those are wrong. It is Ricky Attacky, who Bobby Heenan says is one of the jumping bomb angels. It is not. Bobby Heenan says, well, they all look alike to me. Ugh, what are we doing here, Brain? Outlaw going to catch Attacky coming off the ropes with a power slam, then a nasty forearm shot between the eyes before finishing Attacky off with the old Texas Gourd Buster. His version of the pedigree going to score the Outlaw the win, 1 minute and 48 seconds. And throughout the matchup, Ron Bass shouting for the Junkyard Dog. Still coming after JYD. As post-match, Ron Bass going to choke out Attacky with Miss Betsy, of course. Can't leave her out. But Ron Bass going to take it a step further here this week, choking out Attacky with the bull rope and tossing him over the top rope, literally hanging Ricky Attacky. As Bobby Heenan says that Ricky Attacky will be eating rice soup for the next week after this beatdown. As we continue on here, Ultimate Warrior in the ring taking on Terry Gibbs. And Terry has a look like, what the fuck is going on here? As the Warrior enters the ring, Terry Gibbs going to attack, but to no avail. Warrior taking over with nasty chops and flinging Terry outside. UW going to follow Gibbs out, scooping him up over his shoulder into a power slam position on the floor, but he proceeds to carry Gibbs over his shoulder, up the ring steps, onto the apron, and he slams Terry back inside the ring. And let me tell you guys, Terry Gibbs is not a small dude. I wrote, wow, that was very impressive strength by Warrior, who climbed the steps with the man over his shoulder and then launched him into the ring. We're back inside. It's the big Warrior clothesline, the Gorilla Press drop, and the big splash. Going to score the win, 1 minute and 34 seconds from the Ultimate Warrior. And I should also mention, during that matchup, we got an insert promo from, of all people, Steve Lombardi. Lombardi, who has worked the Warrior in the past quite a bit, says he doesn't know if Warrior can be stopped, referring to him as a human wrecking machine. Wow, Warrior versus Zeus. No thanks. But another impressive win here for the Ultimate Warrior, and they even got the job guys out here showing their fear for stepping in the ring with the Ultimate Warrior. Steve Lombardi, who has wrestled them all, says he doesn't know if the Warrior can be stopped. Not for quite a while anyway. As we go off to the event center, Mean Gene Okerlund going to have words with Dangerous Danny Davis, Sam Houston, and his brother, Jake the Snake Roberts.
All right, here is a likeness of Brutus the Barber Beefcake, his LJN doll. They're available in stores everywhere across America. Great one. Hey, what about this one? Take a look. Huh? Does it remind you of somebody familiar? Well, of course. These now you've got to pick up a minimum, kiddies, of at least a half a dozen for yourselves, of the Mean Gene dolls, if you will. Sam Houston wants nothing more than to meet Dangerous Danny Davis, and Mr. Davis is going to oblige.
Sam Houston, it's just like back on the farm, boy. When you step in it, do you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to get off your shoe. Well, I'm going to be just like that manure you step in, boy. I'm going to be all over you. I'm going to stick on you, and you and I are going to fight. It's not going to be anything that anybody's seen before. It's going to be an all-out fight. I'm going to come at you hard and fast. There's going to be no way out. There's only going to be one winner. Dangerous Danny Davis.
Dangerous, lethal. These words come to mind when you're thinking about Danny Davis. Danny Davis, let me tell you something. The reason you're dangerous and lethal is because you used to be a referee and you know when to get your cheap shots in. Well, son, let me tell you something. When you start giving me your cheap shots, I'm going to take it away from you. I don't care if a referee sees me nail you back. And you do nail me, I'm going to get you back. I intend to do something else to you, Danny Davis. It's gone far more than just wanting to beat you in the wrestling ring. I'm going to hurt you, and I'm going to hurt you good. I'm going to hurt you bad.
All right, getting point and counterpoint from Sam Houston from Waco, Texas, and Dangerous Danny Davis, the former referee, who has now become such a big part of the Hart Foundation. Here's a match that I would jump on in a minute. Ravishing Rick Rude to meet Jake the Snake Roberts.
Rude, you want to know why she slapped you? Well, I'll tell you the truth. The truth is, the only reason she slapped you is because she couldn't kick you, man. There was a barricade in between. That's the only thing that kept her from doing that. But I'll tell you something. The devil himself would tell me that you committed no crime. No, not when you grabbed her. That was no crime. To me, brother, that was the ultimate sin. You reached out and touched something you don't have the right to put your hands on.
I should point out that originally the way this feud developed was an incident that actually involved family. It involved the very lovely wife of Jake the Snake Roberts, and I've got to say, Ravishing Rick Rude, you were totally out of line. Who do you think you are anyway? Of course, with Bobby Heenan behind you, I know who you think you are. Stay tuned, we're right back.
The brother duo there of Sam Houston and Jake in the same event center. Don't know if we'll ever get that again. Don't know if we'll ever get a Sam Houston promo again at all. So let's get it in while we could. Danny Davis says when he gets in the ring with Sam Houston, he's going to stick to him like the manure on his boots. I don't know if that's the greatest comparison, Danny, but okay. And Sam on the other side, great retort here, as he basically replies, oh yeah? So this feud continues on nearly 7 months in the making. Danny Davis and Sam Houston in the house shows. Meanwhile, we also heard Jake the Snake Roberts warning Rick Rude, telling him that he made the ultimate mistake when he put his hands on his wife, Cheryl. As we head back to the ring for singles action here, Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy Hart taking on Mike Richards, as once again, Greg Valentine out here with the shin guard, dubbed the Heartbreaker. So yes, the added dynamic to the character of Greg Valentine, as we even see an insert video from backstage before the matchup showing the Hammer having the guard put on his leg in the locker room. He seems to be selling some sort of pain here as Jimmy Hart helps him put on this shin guard, and Bobby Heenan on commentary suggesting that the guard must be protecting Valentine from a recent injury. Gorilla Monsoon, of course, questioning the logistics of the whole thing because he doesn't recall Valentine having an injury. Anywho, the match gets going. Hammer adjusting his brace before the matchup, and Greg Valentine, of course, working the leg of Mike Richards here, even landing a vertical suplex, before Valentine again adjusting the shin guard, turning it backwards this time. Remember last time he used it, he turned it forwards. This time it's on the calf muscle before applying the figure 4. And the shin brace now on his calf, Greg driving it into Mike's leg, makes more sense, going to score the submission win. Match goes 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So clearly feigning an injury to use his shin guard to apply extra leverage and pain to his opponent's legs. Even has a picture of a bone snapped in half on the brace, just in case nobody could figure it out at home. But something new for the Hammer to do at least. Hey, Mike Sharp has the forearm band, and now Valentine with the shin guard. As we continue on to a special interview, Craig DeGeorge standing by with Hillbilly Jim. Woof, not going to do that to you guys. They're really starting to stretch here for guys for Craig DeGeorge to interview. I really can't wait for the Brother Love show at this point. Is Hillbilly going to compare Minnesota here to Mudlick, Kentucky? They're just the same. Everybody's the same all over, says the Hillbilly. We're hillbillies everywhere. Is Jim going to reaffirm that he's back here in the WWF and he ain't going nowhere? Well, technically, you never left. They just haven't really been using you on TV. But supposedly, Hillbilly Jim back. We saw him wrestle the Honky Tonk Man. I referred to that last episode as his one-off for the year. I was wrong because we get a promo here this week from Big Jim. But again, I don't know when we're going to see him after this. But he says he's back, so stay tuned. However, the promo itself, the definition of pointless, not because it was Hillbilly Jim, but because he literally had nothing to say. But the fans seem to enjoy it. Hillbilly doing a little jig there, a little dance with Craig DeGeorge to end this segment as we roll off back to a replay from Superstars in its entirety. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, taking on Virgil. We discussed that at length at the top of the grenade, so we go back to live action, or I guess taped action here from the Wrestling Challenge tapings. Bolsheviks with manager Slick taking on Warren Bianchi and Buck Zumhoff back out here again. And Zumhoff here in AWA country, Minnesota, as he acts fired up for his introduction. And the crowd, they actually cheer rock and roll. You can actually hear a fan in the front row shout, "Come on, rock and roll," as Buck gets beat down early on in this one. Nikolai delivering a gut-wrench suplex on Zumhoff, who finally crawls over and tags in Bianchi. And just like his last match, Buck gonna disappear off the apron, hiding at ringside. Very weird. As Bobby Heenan randomly promising a big surprise in a couple weeks. Well, we've already seen High Chief Afi, so I'm very curious what this upcoming big surprise is going to be or was supposed to be. Stay tuned for that, guys, here in the month of June. We do get an insert promo from the Doctor of Style Slick and his Russians, issuing us a happy Memorial Day and wishing us all peace. Somehow that seemed a little condescending there from the Slickster, but Borzukov in the ring with a backbreaker on Bianchi, holding him on his knee. Nikolai running off the ropes with a knee drop down into Bianchi's chest. Bolsheviks going to score the win here, 1 minute and 38 seconds. So we saw the young Stallions working together doing a tag team move as one, and now the Bolsheviks working together as well here with sort of a demolition decapitation, if you will. Only rather than the elbow drop, it was Nikolai's knee. But the Bolsheviks score the win here. Final match on Wrestling Challenge as we are off to the event center. Mean Gene Okerlund going to talk with Dino Bravo, manager Frenchie Martin, and of course the other side, we'll hear from Ken Patera.
I think everybody is aware of two of the strongest men in the World Wrestling Federation and consequently the world. They are Canadian Dino Bravo and former U.S. Olympic weightlifter Ken Patera. They are both superstars in the World Wrestling Federation, but they have little or no love for each other. Witness Dino Bravo.
Ken Patera, you're obviously stretching a career that has been great. For the money, we understand it, but you bit a little more than you can chew, and I can prove it to you, Ken Patera. You're gonna make a USA out of yourself, and this is what's gonna make it happen.
Patera, you know, we have to admit we have a lot of things in common, you know. We're very big, and we're both very powerful, and you held records in the past. But that is the past, Patera. You cannot cope with the present, and I am the present, Patera. I've proven that to you. I am much stronger than you are, Patera. Now you come here, inspired, you say, by your American citizen to support you. You want to prove that you're a better wrestler than me, Patera? Well, let's find out, because I'm going to bring you down again, Patera.
All right, Dino Bravo, along with manager Frenchie Martin, still contends that he holds the world bench press record of 712 pounds. Pal, I was there. I covered that on national television. I question it. So does this man. He's Ken Patera.
Dino Bravo, it's quite obvious you've been listening to that little creep manager of yours, Frenchie Martin, for too long now. I'm not living in the past, as you suggest. On the contrary, Dino Bravo, I'm very much right now. I'm in the present, baby, and all I want to do is get in the ring with you and settle it once and for all. I have proven to you that I am the strongest between the two of us. You claim to be the world record holder in the bench press. Well, I think that was more of a tag team effort with Jesse Ventura pulling the weight off of your chest. Otherwise, it would have crushed you like a grape. Now, let's get it straight, Dino Bravo, for the record. It's you and me, and that's the way I like it. Right in the ring. Nobody else. And then we'll find out who the best man is.
All right, Ken Patera from Portland, Oregon, one of the great veterans of the World Wrestling Federation. And what this man has gone through over the past 5 years, he certainly doesn't need any additional aggravation from one Dino Bravo. Bravo himself is the former Canadian heavyweight champ and also a bona fide superstar here in the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, the feud is on. The match is already on the house show. We've seen some tests of strength there on the house shows already. And of course, the Tug of War on TV. All of them ending pretty much the same. Dino Bravo leaving Ken Patera lying in a heap on the mat. Ken Patera gunning for revenge. We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out as we continue on here into the summer months. Right now, one last piece of TV here this week. Primetime Wrestling, May the 30th, hosted as always by Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan. And it's kind of funny here. This is clearly recorded at two separate times because as they come back after the first matchup between the Bolsheviks and the Young Stallions, Bobby Heenan has changed his attire from his black jacket to his black sequin suit. And they actually acknowledge it here on TV because we've got smart fans out there. This is slightly noticeable. Bobby Heenan giving a reason why he quote-unquote changed during the matchup. As the storyline here this week on the primetime set, Bobby Heenan impatiently waiting for his brand new phone he was promised by Gorilla Monsoon, which finally arrives. Gone is that 99-cent plastic-looking banana phone from a few weeks back, and now we're back to your typical push-button phone of the era. Bobby Heenan, though, having issues dialing out until finally, at the end of the show, Gorilla informing him, "There's no cord, brain. I'll get you a cord next week," right here on Primetime Wrestling. No real sound bites here for this episode of Primetime, unfortunately. I'm sure we'll have more in the next episode of WWF TV. Also, no exclusives here this week on Primetime, so slightly uneventful, but Gorilla and Bobby Heenan hosting, so always a fun time. I always encourage everybody to go check those out, so I'm not telling you anything new there. But that's going to wrap it up here this week. A very eventful couple weeks here on WWF television. May sweeps really paying off. Randy Savage and $1 Million Man continuing that feud. Honky Tonk Man attacking Brutus Beefcake with the guitar. The Hitman ushering away Jimmy Hart. What's that about? Of course, Hacksaw Duggan and Andre the Giant have plenty to say as that feud continues on. So much going on right now. Lots of fun stuff. Brand new primetime set. For the time being, it's still JYD and Ron Bass, Bam Bigelow, and One Man Gang still being sold. And of course, the latest feud, Ken Patera and Dino Bravo here taking place on TV in that Tug of War challenge. How can I forget about that? So lots going on here. They're building up tons of feuds here to sell tickets throughout the summer months here on the house show circuit. But if all of that wasn't enough, more new talent than you can shake a stick at coming here throughout the summer of 1988, guys. As coming to TV anytime now, the Big Boss Man, the Brother Love Show, Powers of Pain are about to arrive, getting the hell out of Dodge over there in JCP, being informed by the Book of Man himself, baby, every night at the Great American Bash Tour, scaffold matches against the Road Warriors. You got to lose every night, 300-pound men falling off the top of a scaffold each and every night on a Bash Tour? No, thank you. We'll go off to the WWF. So says the Warlord and Barbarian. They'll be here before too long, as will Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer, Terry Taylor, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty not too far away. Sean Mooney going to take over the event center where he belongs. Though check the volume, guys. Sean Mooney can be a little loud in his early event center excursions. But you have all of that to look forward to, plus the upcoming WrestleFest event in July, and of course SummerSlam around the corner in 1988. And for those who love them, and I know there's some out there, you know who I'm talking about, the Hulkamaniacs. Hulk Hogan going to return before the end of the summer too, brother. Just an amazing time here in the World Wrestling Federation, guys. As we return next time, we're going to kick off the month of June. Take a look at all of the June news and results here for 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. Looking forward to that, and plenty of sound bites as well. Lots of great promos lined up. So stay tuned next week, guys. And just a quick reminder, check out all of the great podcasts over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com. We've got the Grenade, Regional Wrestling, the Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, the Pro Wrestling Academy with Dan Ginnity, and of course all the latest podcasts, including The Other Ship, Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty, and our very own Gene Jackson bringing us the Retro Wrestling Review program, which is both an audio podcast and a video you can find on our YouTube. Subscribe there, youtube.com/Wrestling Grenade. Follow me on X at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. And follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. All sorts of great stuff going on all over the place there throughout social media. And last but certainly not least, give it a try. Talking about that $5 all access tier over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. So many great gifts there, all for your $5 in support. And for those WrestleCopia super fans out there that want to give a little more, we now have an additional deluxe super fan tier you guys can check out with all sorts of great stuff, including additional insanely detailed show notes, upcoming video casts, and we're figuring out even more stuff to give away there at the deluxe super fan tier. So be a part of that as positions are limited. So make sure to get your spot today. And you can do all of that over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. And remember, guys, every penny goes right back here into keeping all these great shows up and running. But with all of that said and out of the way, time to say goodbye this week. We will be back soon. Another edition of The Grenade right around the corner. Looking forward to seeing where we head into the month of June, 1988. But for now, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast, you pull the pin and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'll see you next week. Don't miss it. be there.
Think about Ron Bass. Kicking a dog, beating him on the nose, putting your phalanges upon my chest, putting it all in my face. But I got something for you, Ron Bass. The Four Sisters on Farm Street.
When the money's gone, when the glory's gone, the woman's gone. And I've never lost a woman, brother, because I've always got what they want. Who knows? Maybe Elizabeth will be the $1 million woman.
Hello.
Bankruptcy is your future, yeah. You can't cash this check.